Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us as we sit down and we talk about this week's past message.
Yep.
My future is my focus, and this was a really special one because we were able to be in North Carolina in person to just experience it and experience Pastor's live preaching, and it was amazing. He actually preached it directly to the staff, and what we watched was the recording of it. But honestly, I could watch that message over and over again. I thought it was so perfect. My whole word for the year is focus, so this, just the title right away got me, and just the importance of what we put our focus on as we go about our week. So I would just love to open it up. What is something that you focus on that's happened to you that you can be grateful for? What's something fun?
Well, I got to play softball a couple days ago.
Yes, you did. You joined a softball league. Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah, definitely out of my comfort zone.
Yes.
Not something I would typically do. So that was fun. And on top of that, I was the highest scoring female on our team.
Look at you, eh?
Yes.
Gold star, gold star.
Gold star. However, I then did get hit in the forehead by a baseball, which is why I have this bruise, but
Hey,
God.
that's okay. But God is going to work it in, and you're okay. So, and you're smiling, and you're here, and you're keeping a good attitude about it, which is amazing, as you always do. I'm super grateful that it's just nice weather, and we've been able to be outside. My daughter got a new sandbox, and that's has been
exciting.
our excitement to watch her play with sand. It's the little things, but it's so important to just take note of all the little things in your life, and even if it's small, it's still important to be grateful about it. It all depends on what you focus on. So let's watch this little clip from Pastor, and then let's talk about it.
Now I want you to see what I saw in the spirit. It's a picture of Joseph, who through all of the pain that he went through, never lost his focus. That's what you do when you aim, right? You gotta focus. You know how hard it is to focus when you got everything flying at you? We went out on tour a couple weeks ago. Every night was such a challenge because it was big rooms. And when I preach at our church, everybody's paying attention, taking notes. And nobody's bored. Y'all, in those arenas, there are people there that are literally praising God with one hand, eating popcorn with another. Got a chicken finger in their beard and talking about, oh God, my God, I need you. It's very distracting. And I'm sitting there one night, I'm about to preach in a few minutes, and I'm like, God, this is so distracting. I can't even focus on the word. Look at that guy down there. I think he has a beer. Are they selling beer? No, they don't sell alcohol here. It looks like a beer. And it's almost like I'm saying, God, I can't preach with all these distractions. And the Lord, exactly. The Lord was like, whose eyeballs, whose sockets are your eyeballs in? At any time, you can stop watching Mr. Chicken Fingers. And if you look 3 seats over, look at those 3 guys right there. And these 3 big guys had their arms around each other. I mean, big, wasn't it? You remember? Big guys. And I'm like, oh yeah, there's way more people worshiping God than sitting here getting a snack. But it's up to me to focus on what I want more of.
All right. Well, that was a really powerful clip.
Yes.
I took so many notes. I have my notebook. It was just pages and pages. And something I do is I always leave the side so I can come back and even make more notes. But I'd love to know, how have you been unpacking the message this week? And put it in the chat too, what your takeaways have been and kind of how you're unpacking it.
I also took so many notes. So when we were in Charlotte, I took a whole set of notes, and then when we watched it again here back
We
at
took
home,
even more.
We took even more notes. But one of my favorite takeaways from the sermon was when Pastor talked about how Joseph noticed his emotions, but he wasn't controlled by them.
Yes, that was so important.
So important. And there's this one line Pastor said, "You limit your future to the level of your feelings."
Yeah.
And I just feel like when we do that all the time. Like everything I do, if I look back at it, I'm definitely limiting my future just based on the things that I feel like doing or I don't feel like doing.
Because we want that comfort, right?
Yeah.
And it's so easy to let our feelings drive and be like, oh, I have a headache today.
Yes.
I'm not gonna work on the thing that I need to work on.
Yeah.
Or I know I need to clean up all these dishes right now, but I'm not feeling it, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna leave that for tomorrow. But then tomorrow comes and
Yes.
that's now impacted you. I think it's so important to like recognize that you have these feelings, we have these preferences,
Yeah.
but to not let that control
Yeah.
what our outcome is gonna be.
Yeah, I think even when Pastor was talking about Joseph in relationship to his brothers,
Yeah.
like I can think about so many times I have not wanted to forgive somebody, but
Right.
God's placed it on my heart, and I know that we're called to do that.
Yeah.
And so we have to just move beyond those feelings.
Yeah, 100%. I feel like so many times you can let, I don't know, for me it's definitely fear. I
Yeah.
feel like I let that drive me a lot. I'm really scared about this or I'm worried about this, so I'm gonna hold back or I'm not
Yeah.
gonna do it. But understanding like that emotion is real. But like what has God called you to and how can you like rise above that feeling that is so temporal? I think for me, I really loved, and I kind of highlighted in my note, was it is impossible to climb over something you're complaining about. I think that was like such an important like one-liner because it's so true. When you are complaining about something, you're not focusing on getting over it and moving past it. And I think like you have a choice, right? And he really talked about how Joseph made that choice.
Yeah.
He could either be fruitful and be a fruitful vine and climb over the wall and be living in his purpose, or he could have just sat in and lived in the fact of that he was a victim. And I think we all have a choice to make too of like, am I gonna be a victim of the external circumstances that are happening around me?
Yeah.
Or am I gonna take control, not complain over the things that are bothering me or how I'm feeling, and rise above it again to do what I need to do.
Yeah.
So I love that line.
I love that line too. We actually did something really fun with the staff.
We did.
We really put this message.
We made it practical.
We made it practical. And so I want you all to check out this clip of what we did with the staff this week. So I loved how Pastor talked about this idea of all these arrows shooting at Joseph, and he didn't move. He didn't let it take him away from his purpose. And the scripture that he was referring to is Genesis 49:23, where he says, "With bitterness archers attacked him. They shot at him with hostility, but his bow remained steady. His strong arm stayed limber because of the hand of the mighty one of Jacob, because of the shepherd, the rock of Israel, because of your father's God who helps you, because of the Almighty who blesses you." And I just love this idea of like, yes, the arrows were flying at him. Yes, people were shooting at him with hostility, but he didn't let it take him away from his purpose and what God's called him to do.
Yeah.
And he didn't say it didn't hurt.
Yes.
But he just stayed steady and like kept that, Pastor kept going like this with the bow and arrow. So I really like that illustration.
I love that whole illustration, and I feel like it's been coming up for me all week to like think about, okay, what is my target? Where do I need to get to?
Yeah.
And how can I just like look straight ahead at it? And no matter, again, like what's coming at me or how I'm feeling, I'm able to just like laser focus like where I need to be. Pastor also talked about at one part of the message when he said like, whose eyes are in your sockets, and he talked about how when he's preaching sometimes he can get distracted by what people are doing, and he was talking about being on tour and he's trying to keep his focus on preaching but someone's eating popcorn. And that's kind of like throwing him off. But he said he really had to learn how to look past that and look at the three guys that were like really into the worship and like we're all having their arms around each other. And I think for me, like I can be like what Pastor said so many times, like I'm focusing on the person eating the popcorn or the thing that is bringing me down or my challenge or somebody in my life that isn't treating me how I want them to treat me or they're not doing what I want them to do, and that's my focus. Or my focus should be on all the good and all the people that do show up and all the great things in my life. And I think really learning how to interrupt our thoughts, what Pastor said, with a but God, and realizing that he is going to be faithful to you, he is good to you, and saying like, no matter what bad situation comes to me, I have a God who is greater. I have a God that has a bigger purpose on my life than my feelings, that what I'm going through. And if I just keep my focus on him and the good, I'm gonna be able to rise above it. So I think I'm gonna keep the archery thing in my mind for for a long time.
And fun fact, Kristen has a dream to be able to shoot a bow and arrow on horseback.
One day there will be a video.
Yes, there will be a video.
I'll just be cantering along and you'll see me.
Yeah, like Katniss Everdeen.
Yes, exactly. Hey, it's a dream. It's a dream. Just focus on it and maybe it will come to pass. But what I want to leave you guys with, my one last thought, was when Pastor said, like, not to always think about, like, God will work it out and learn, but, like, rephrase it to how God will work it in. So whatever you were going through your life, because we all have our own challenges and things that we're facing, how is God going to work that into your life? How can you use that thing that's happened to you to bring forth good and for you to be that fruitful vine that is able to climb over anything that happens to you and become the person that God has really called you to be.
Yeah, I loved, on that note, Pastor said something that he asks God all the time is, God, show me what you are doing through this that is for the comfort of others.
Yes, so good.
And just when you shift that perspective, like what I'm going through, maybe it's not for me, but it's to allow me to be the comfort to somebody else that's going to experience it. It just takes the focus off of you and puts it on allowing God to work through the situation.
He even was talking about building off that is like, how can I use this to bless others? And is this going to have a generational impact? Maybe what I'm going through isn't really for me, but it's going to help my kids' kids. And if we can keep that focus, it just, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of strength in that. There's a lot of hope in that. And that's even kind of how Pastor even started the message, that God will always give you strength for today and hope for tomorrow. So we have church again this Sunday. We hope that you can join us online or in person if you're close to one of our physical locations. But we hope you have a blessed week, and we hope that you can remember that your focus is your future.
Yes.
Have a great week.